What's going on? Matt Savoca here from Stokastic.com. We are back on the Stokastic Best Ball channel, and we are back in the Best Ball Situation Room. A specific dilemma, a specific position, and these players very close in ADP here to debate with me on the bullish case and the bearish case for both players is Nick Lepri. Follow him at Notorious FNTSY. Nick, how you doing today, man?
I am doing great today. I'm very excited to break down these two players as this seems like a dilemma when people are on the board looking for a tight end before maybe those top five guys come off the board. They want to spring for one. Which one should you be taking? That's what we're going to tell you today.
This is the end of the tight end one tier, in my opinion. You get into the rest of the tight ends pool after these two players, in my opinion, which makes this debate so fascinating. We are talking Darren Waller versus George Kittle. And guys, if you have a specific debate you want to hear us talk about, make sure to like, subscribe, and make a comment below so that we know what you guys are thinking. Let us know if we were stupid on this debate at the end, or let us know what you're thinking for next time. Maybe you'll see one of your recommended debates on a future show. Let's get into this one. Let's talk about the first player, George Kittle. I think he's more interesting in this regard because he's got a new quarterback and there are so many uncertain parts of this offense this year. And yet the talent is undeniable. From an opportunity standpoint, he was top 3 in the NFL on a per game basis in target share. And from an efficiency standpoint, in yards per route run, in targets per team pass attempt, he was top 3 in the NFL. Some of that was fueled by huge individual performances, some of the best individual game tight end performances we've ever seen. Yeah. But those spike weeks are what we're looking for in best ball. What's the bullish case for George Kittle?
Yeah, the positive case here for him is going to have to be the fact that he is just that good of a player, right? The fact that Trey Lance is coming in is not going to matter at all, even though Jimmy G probably has a tattoo of George Kittle on his thigh because they're just best friends. He always throws the ball to George Kittle. I don't think that is even going to end up really coming that much into play. Maybe it takes a couple of weeks for that connection to truly mold, right? Maybe we see George Kittle come out the gate and he's blocking well, but he's not putting up these humongous numbers, right? Maybe it takes a couple of weeks. But at the end of the day, like you said, George Kittle is one of the most talented all-around tight ends in the NFL. He missed a bunch of games last season, only playing in 14 games, and still finished as a top 5 tight end in both half PPR and half PPR points per game as tight end number 4 in both categories. And his target numbers, while he's not on this very pass-heavy team, are pretty solid. 6.8 targets per game, 5.1 receptions per game, 65 yards per game, and he had 6 total touchdowns, which is 7th at tight end. I'm not worried at all about George Kittle this year, but if I'm being honest with you, I think there are definitely holes you could poke in both of these guys. And when you're looking at the top 3 tight ends, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, there's a lot less holes you can poke in those players.
Sure, and that's why their draft capital is different. Right now, George Kittle going off the board at the 50th pick in Underdog drafts. The bearish case is pretty obvious here, right? And it's really why his expectations have been dampened across the industry, despite this being one of the most efficient and just crazy athletic freak of natures at the position in the NFL. Trey Lance, we just don't know what we're going to expect here. Can he really support 3 solid wide out options? We're including Kittle here in that. Kittle is obviously going to be a great blocker for this team, and this team is going to rush. We know that. But can he really support Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle? That's a concern, right? Is that he just kind of disappears certain games because Ayuk and Deebo are getting these small pass attempts that this team has on a per game basis. So being 7th in total targets despite missing a bunch of games with Trey Lance as your quarterback, that seems really, really hard to replicate to me. A 24.9% target share, which is 2nd among all tight ends last year, that seems really, really hard to replicate for me. And yet, betting against George Kittle makes me want to throw up. So I don't have him any higher than an ADP in terms of positional ranking, but I do have him a little bit higher than his overall ranking because I want to get one of these elite tight ends, and he is absolutely still included on that list. So I might say that I'm leaning towards the bearish case in terms of how I look at range of outcomes this year. However, when I'm talking about going for upside, drafting as if I'm correct in the early rounds of fantasy drafts and best ball, I'm still taking my chances on George Kittle.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think you still have to take your shot on the player because of just how good that he is. But at the end of the day, when we are talking about a player debate, when we're looking at tight ends, I'm just not as sold on George Kittle as I am in prior years. And mostly because of that Jimmy Garoppolo to George Kittle connection. I really think that's going to play some type of a factor here. Again, it could be, like I said, just the start of the season. Maybe it just takes a couple games. They go out, drink some beers together, and then boom, they're fine. Or maybe it does really take a little bit longer than we are looking at here. And like you said, there's a lot of mouths to feed in San Francisco. And with such a run heavy offense, you could see one of these guys fall off. Maybe it's not Kittle. Maybe Deebo Samuel falls off the wall like Humpty Dumpty, or maybe it's Brandon Ayuk. But I think still I'm pretty confident with George Kittle. It's just that I don't know. There's a lot of negatives that are kind of swaying me away from him. And I do have him actually ranked lower than tight end number 5. He's my tight end 6.
Oh, who do you have in that 5 spot?
Dalton Schultz.
Oh, clever. Interesting. Well, there you go. So Kittle, obviously, the speculation that he's going to fall off is there. But man, at tight end 6, that is a whole lot of upside. I digress. We move on to our second player. But before we do, guys, you can see the banner at the bottom of your screen, and it's there for a reason. Underdog Fantasy is the best place to play best ball fantasy football this season. They have so many great tournament offerings. The $25 Best Ball Mania tournament is offering 3 separate opportunities to win $1 million. They've had $5 entry puppy tournaments going all summer long. The Puppy 2 tournament is raging long. It's going to fill before we know it, and then they'll have another puppy tournament for us drafting fiends. Guys, there's truly no better place. Use promo code AWESEMO when you sign up to get a $100 first match deposit bonus. That's promo code AWESEMO. That's 20 free entries to the Puppy 2 tournament, which they've got going on right now. And if you want to find the best ways to win, use promo code PUPPY on our website, stokastic.com/best-ball, and you can sign up for a $1 weekly pass to our best ball rankings package. Yes, we've got rankings for Underdog tournaments. We've also got cash game specific rankings because the strategy absolutely changes there, and we've got you covered for all the different platforms that offer best ball as well. That's stokastic.com/best-ball. Use promo code PUPPY. Okay, Darren Waller is currently going as the tight end 4. His overall ranking in ADP is 43 right now. That is pretty steady at the moment. Over the last week, it stayed right there at 43. Tight end 4. He's obviously on an amazing offense. Talk about mouths to feed. Hunter Renfrow is a Pro Bowler. Davante Adams is one of the best receivers in the NFL, best receivers we've seen in the last 15 years. Can Derek Carr support Darren Waller consistently? It didn't happen last year.
Yeah, I mean, last year, Darren Waller was tight end number 18 at the end of the year, but he did only play in 11 games, so you can kind of push that to the side. He was tight end number 6 in points per game, tied with TJ Hawkinson. I personally believe that Derek Carr is going to be able to elevate Darren Waller with Davante Adams there. I think that Davante Adams is going to take off a bunch of the heat from Darren Waller. Waller only scored 2 touchdowns last year. Why is that? Who really knows? But probably because of the fact that the defense in the red zone wants to key into the big man, Darren Waller. They let the little boy, Hunter Renfrow, go, and Hunter Renfrow obviously will just cook your ass, so that's a stupid decision to make. But, you know, that's what the defenses were doing. They were heavily covering Darren Waller in the red zone, but now you're going to have to stop Davante Adams. Davante Adams is a red zone savant, so I think that Darren Waller's touchdown upside is going to be very high this year, and I think even if he's not seeing 8.5 targets per game, Darren Waller that is, then I think that Darren Waller is still going to be able to, even with maybe 7 targets a game, be able to finish as a top 3 tight end in fantasy football. I am very high on Darren Waller this year. I really don't think that Davante Adams coming there really will hurt him all that much. Obviously, you'd prefer for your tight end to see as many targets as possible. You'd want Darren Waller to get 150 targets, which is basically impossible. But I still think that at the end of the day, he is good enough to overcome the amount of targets with pure efficiency.
That's what you need, right? You're betting on the overall offense. You're betting on the shootout potential of the division.
Yes.
But you're also betting on Derek Carr and Darren Waller to improve on a 3.6% touchdown rate. That has got to get better. You bring in Davante Adams to do exactly that. And I've been saying all offseason long, somebody in this offense is scoring 10 touchdowns. Adams is the most likely option to do that. But if you told me at the end of the year that Darren Waller did it, nobody on earth should be surprised. That's how I kind of feel about this. A 24.2% target share, number 3 among all tight ends, is not happening with Davante Adams on your team. 26.7% targets per route run, that's 6th in the NFL. That's probably not happening. A 25% air yard share, 4th in the NFL. That's probably not happening. And yet, we're just as high as ever on Darren Waller because touchdowns are what win us fantasy weeks and fantasy leagues. The touchdowns for the Raiders have to improve. And if Josh McDaniels trolls us all and just runs the ball with Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake 80 times a game, I'm going to throw something this year. They have so much firepower, particularly in the red zone, that they must figure this out. Is that the most likely thing? We have to bet on it. Basically, ADP tells us we have to bet on it. So that's what I'm doing. I am taking Darren Waller exactly at ADP. I know it's not exciting. I know I like the divisions. I've been talking about stacking the AFC West as much as possible, but I cannot go earlier than pick 42, 43 for a player like this. So we're talking about mid 4th round there that we're starting to consider him. There is no way at the early 4th round, end of the 3rd, when there are some bell cow running backs and some absolute superstar wide receivers, that I can consider Waller, as talented he is, as the 2nd option on his team. Unless you told me he was going to have a 10% or something, a crazy level touchdown rate. Certainly possible, not the most probable thing. Fair to say?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I will completely agree that probably the most negative argument you can make about Darren Waller, again, I really don't think the fact that his targets are going to go down is going to matter. It is the fact that McDaniels just loves to run the ball. And if Josh Jacobs actually does do that, which I think is actually kind of possible, then we are all going to feel like idiots. But I'm going to feel pretty good because I love Josh Jacobs this year.
Oh, okay. So this is about your rankings and your exposures.
About me.
That's how it goes. That's how it goes. No, but I think this is a really solid debate. Both players have warts on their profiles, proverbially speaking, but they both have league winning upside. And I'm saying take your shots on these players at or below ADP. That's my conclusion for today. This has been really fun. We are back soon enough in the best ball situation rooms. Yet another rankings debate. This was really fun, Nick. Follow him at Notorious FNTSY. I'm Matt Savoca at Draftaholic. And guys, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel so you always know what we're about when we're going live too, because we do go live with best ball drafts every Monday. So much going on here on the Stochastic Best Ball channel. For Nick, I'm Matt. We'll see you guys later.